What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to more Black Desert. So we are doing our December's window shopping episode. So if you guys don't know what that is, basically every month at the start, I like to do a little comparison of the market prices for notable items, whether you're a beginner or a returning player or an endgame player. Hopefully these items and my opinions of this will help you guys make your next upgrade and everything. So yeah, you can check out the playlist in the description if you want to see like last month's trends and everything. So hopefully I'll give you my opinion on whether some things are worth enhancing, buying, or, you know, just saving up and holding for, you know, maybe next month. But anyway, I'll show you some cool things that got changed and added, and we'll talk about, like, of course, all the notable items that we talk about every month. So I assume most people, whether you started recently or not, are within the like 240 to 280 something AP area, because 240 is, you know, the end of seasons, and then that's when, you know, the game really begins, and then everyone is working on other stuff. So I guess we'll talk about the Blackstar and other weapons first. I'll give you my opinions and we'll look at trends and everything. So yeah, as usual, every month I've always gotten these questions: is Kzarka versus Blackstar versus Godeye versus Offin, all those stuff. I'll give you my opinions, but first of all, let's look at the trends of everything. So I assume you are coming out of season if you have a Kzarka, and the reasoning why is when you turn your pen to Vala and you pick off like one of the guaranteed weapons off season, a lot of people should pick the main hand as your first weapon, simply because I think that the accuracy is always more important, because it helps you grind new areas. If you are into PvP, obviously accuracy is very important, but that's more of a late game thing. And if you are doing the Jutina quest, you're wondering, is it worth buying or is it worth making yourself? And if you're making the weapon, I actually have a video of that. I showed you step by step how to collect every material and every step of the quest along the way. And I think the total came out to about 6.5 billion silver. So if you can buy it for under 6.5 billion, it's better to buy it than make it off Jutina. And that's just my opinion of it. So I don't think Kzarka is bad at all. I think it's a good entry level boss weapon before people convert into Blackstars. So I don't think it's bad. It's something people would recommend getting to pen at some point. So as you guys know, the trend has been always going down in the past month. I think that is actually very good for new players, because when you see some other guides out there and people are just like, oh, okay, so go from Tuvala to Blackstar, I don't think that is actually like efficient, because let's say you have 15 billion silver, and I know as a new player, getting like billions of silver is not as easy as it sounds compared to like an endgame player like myself. So let's say you get 5 billion silver. This is an upgrade for you. And then if you don't want to go through the entire RNG process, what I would do is just go get the Kzarka at pen, and then just buy Capris and then put it in your weapon up until like a certain point. And then once you think you have enough gear to be able to grind faster and make a lot more silver an hour, that's when you start upgrading. So yeah, the Kzarka is not bad. Offin is a little bit outdated. It was okay to use back in the day. This was a few years ago, and I always thought that there was only a small window back even a few years ago when I played. There's a small window of when this was actually good, and nowadays most people can like zoom past that AP bracket. I think it was between like 261 to 269 AP was when this was good, and nowadays people just kind of fly through that. So it's very difficult to recommend it. I would just stay Kzarka until you can upgrade to Blackstar or Godeye, and then you're good to go. So main hand, realistically, the price range has kind of been the same for a couple of months. I know this graph doesn't really look like it, but at any given time or any given class, there's a lot of Blackstars getting listed, and like, even if it looks like this is a straight downward trend, it's always been between the 14 to 16 billion silver bracket range, and last month has been similar to this as well. So my suggestion to all of you who are looking to buy it is just put an order at min price for anyone, or I guess whatever class you're at, and it'll fill within like 24 hours. So if you're buying, just min price it or min list it, and then you'll get it. And then as for the God Eye, this is something I always talk about, and every month it may change my opinion, because back when this first came out, this was also before the Cronstone price change happened. What people would do is, if you had a Blackstar and you wanted to convert it into a God Eye, what people would do is try to self-enhance it to try, and then just stay there. So nowadays, I think if you can buy a Tet, and especially at minimum price, it is a good deal compared to just slamming Blackstar Cron clicks to pen. And of course, if you're just going for pen, this is a little tip that a lot of people don't know, even though it's obvious in the patch notes. Whether you have a Blackstar or a God Eye, you could turn it from the purple to the red one. Just like, there's an NPC that I think that does it. So don't worry. Let's say you bought a God Eye for cheaper than the Blackstar, but you wanted the Blackstar because it's red, you know, like aesthetics thing. You can convert it. It's not a big deal. You can only do it at pen though. So just keep that in mind. Just buy, if you're going for pen and buying it, just get the cheapest one and then convert it to the color you like. So the one thing I will say is, if you are buying it at Tet, just know that if you are like, you buy a Tet and then your goal is to get pen but not enhance it, you're going to be losing a little bit on tax when you sell it back, but it's not a big deal. It's hard to recommend like enhancing it because it is half the crons, but the enhanced success rate is a little bit lower. So keep that in mind. But overall, it's not a bad thing. Next, we're going to talk about awakening weapons. For the most part, they're the same. I have the same stance of the boss weapons, like the Dandelion, as I did the Kzarka. We'll look at this because I think all of them nowadays are going to be under the 6.5 billion bracket. So it's probably better to just buy it nowadays. And yeah, price has been going down. I guess it's just because more people are playing the game, more people are getting Blackstars, and then it's fine. I don't think this is bad. Here's a little tip. I guess this is more for the end game people. So if you are trying to very hard min-max, like in PvP, Capris 20 Vediant, I believe, is slightly better than a Blackstar. Will you really notice the difference? Probably not. But in terms of like actual item effect stats, I believe it's slightly better, but you probably won't notice a difference, so it doesn't matter. Blackstar is a volatile item, especially the awakening one, because people enhance these for profit, actually. So if you are enhancing a Blackstar, I believe the best one to enhance no matter what class is always going to be the awakening weapon. And like we were talking about the main hand before, and it was like 14 billion. The minimum is like 15, 16. So yeah, if you're enhancing, awakening weapon is the way to go. Otherwise, you know, if you're trying to make it yourself for personal use, it's probably better to make this one. But yeah, pretty much the same concept of God Eye and Blackstar. It doesn't matter which one. The enhancing and or buying always felt the same to me. Sub-weapons. Now, this one is a little bit tricky to talk about because there's a lot of things to consider, whether you're doing it for PvP, PvE exclusively. Is Blackstar versus Kutum better? Or do you want accuracy or evasion? There's a lot of things to factor in. But as a general whole, Kutum is more for the PvE grind. Nouver is more for the PvP. Blackstar is the better, well, not, I wouldn't say better, but, you know, min-max better PvE thing. So, let's look at all these prices. Pen Kutum, 10 billion. It's kind of at an all-time low, but it's rising right now. So if you're planning on buying one, I'd probably buy it like now because it's at a low price. But like if you wait till next month, who knows? It could be up to like 12 billion. But realistically, getting a bill or two these days, not that bad. Nouver. It is on the rise. So if what I would do right now, if you wanted a Nouver today, put a price or put an order on Min. It'll sell. Will probably list in like a day, and so you're good. Just keep in mind, Nouver is straight directly PvP, and Blackstar. This is, in my opinion, probably one of the volatile items to enhance. Like right now, it looks like it's a good deal to enhance it for profit, but you know the trends have been going like these are not what you want to see. Like this is. It might be a good time to enhance it and sell it right now, but it might just like hard tank like that again. So if you can't sell it within like a week, it's kind of sketch. So just do that at your own risk. But I think that recently, because the new high-end grind spot, the Ulakita area, like Dark Seeker's Retreat, this is like end game stuff, has been more attractive to new players because there's like new stuff to get, myself included. This is why people are like just trying to push that extra AP against monsters, and that's why I think it's like going up. However, keep in mind it might be a little bit sketch to sell like 1 or 2 months down the line. As for like accuracy and evasion, green offhands, I feel like by the time you're thinking about picking one of those, you're already at the end game and you kind of know what you want. So I'm not really going to talk about that too much, but as a general baseline, Kutum for PvE, Nouver PvP, Blackstar is min-maxing the PvE grind. All right, let's talk about armors and new stuff. So let's talk about the Griffin versus Gaiath. It doesn't really matter anymore. But if you are in the range of you're working on Libresca, so you can only use these two, I would choose the Griffin over the Gaiath, because if you look at it, the item resistance is plus 5%, whereas the Gaiath helm is max HP 100. So if you are interested in, like, I guess this affects both PvE and PvP, that 5% resistance is worth more to me than the extra HP pool, simply because in PvP, we all know that whoever gets CC'd first basically loses the fight. So if that 5% helps you, it helps you. It's good. And Libresca, now that we finally have all 4 of the like Fallen God armors we'll talk about, let me give you what I personally have used, like what stacks I've used to enhance everything. So if you are enhancing yourself, from base to Pry, I would start at like an 80 to 100 stack. And then from Pry to Duo, I would start at like a 120 and then go up to like, probably like 150, 160. And then Duo to Try, you start at like, I guess, I don't know, 160 up to like 200. I would probably go on the higher side because you cron every step of the way past Duo. And then from Try to Tet, you literally use the highest stack you have, simply because the Tet is worth more than like a Blackstar, so it is a very strong upgrade and an expensive upgrade at 200 billion. So it is worth using a higher stack, simply because it's just more expensive, harder to get. So yeah, ultimately, these two, up until you get Libresca, it doesn't really matter. If you just want the safer thing, I would probably just go with all resistances. Same mentality and same concept of Fallen God armors, of exactly what steps every enhancing process goes. And Red Nose versus Dim Tree. So Dim Tree at Capris 10, that pen, requires more Capris stones to get to 10 than Red Nose to 10. Why? I don't know. So what you're going to want to do is make sure to look at the price. So like a pen Red Nose, 15 billion. a Pendimtree is 12 billion. So it's like, oh, that looks like it's cheaper, so I should do that. However, the Capris cost is a little bit different, so it might actually break even. So make sure to do a little bit of calculation on how much like each Capris will actually cost you, and make sure you're just spending whichever one gets you to Capris 10 the cheapest is the way to go. I don't actually know what the Capris prices are on every server, but here it is 2.5. The reason why there's so many is because the Ator shoes came out, and then everyone who had like the C20 armors, they're just like dumping all of that on the market now. So I guess on most servers it would probably be cheaper right now to do it, but it's like, just keep in mind it's going to be gone some way in the future. So we're going into the part where gear starts to branch off into DR and then evasion. The general rule of should you use DR or evasion is, does your class actively have like evasion passives, or if they don't have evasion passives, then you are DR. And also, evasion is something that's good, but at the very high end level. So it's like, by the time you are at the high end level, you probably won't be asking when to convert. It's just like one of those things you feel. But basically, it's probably within like the 700 plus gear score range. So if you had to ask, it's kind of like you probably should just be using DR. Anyway, Begs is the DR route. I personally use this because DKs don't have evasion, so this is what it is. So 15 billion. Price more or less feels the same as last month, so nothing really changed there. Libers are 10 billion. This is the evasion route. So this is the trap where people get confused. So you're like, oh, okay, so these two pieces of gear, these two pieces of gear are like a 5 billion silver difference. Where this one has 62 DP and this one has 60 DP. So people get confused and it's like, oh, okay, I want Libers because one, is cheaper, and two has 2 more DP. But you have to keep in mind that these are like two separate things, and like you might actually feel tankier with the Begs gloves than the evasion, even if you are like your sheet AP or DP looks different. So at the end of the day, your ultimate goal is to get the Dawn gloves, and the blue is the DR version. So like if you're turning in a Begs glove, I believe you get this one, and Liber, you would go to green route. And no matter which one you get, if you ever feel like you want to convert later on because you like re-rolled or something, there's an NPC where you can just swap it. It's not a big deal. It's not expensive at all. So you can go from blue to green, green to blue, and it's not a big deal. Same idea of, you know, enhancing, same stacks as we all know. Now we are going into this one, the Uragons and Begs, and then Ator shoes. This is the new item that came out last week. It is not a beginner or intermediate level item. It's an end game item. So yeah, there's like 0 sales. If you have one right now, chances are you're not selling it. So Uragons is the DR route. It's about 13 billion, and it's what I use as well until I get the Ator shoes. And then there's Muskins over here at 7 billion. This is the evasion route. So evasion is cheaper, but it is because that like it by the time you get to evasion converting, you're at a higher end level. So Ator shoes is something I'm currently going for right now. The grind is just, it's whenever I get it, right? So I assume that it works the same thing. Green is evasion, blue is DR, and whenever I get it, you guys can watch me enhance it. You guys can actually watch me enhance all of my other Fallen God armors, and I basically use the same stacks every time, so it's just when does it go kind of thing. So yeah, for all of you at the end game going for the new shoes, good luck. Hopefully you guys all get the straight flame drop. It's a struggle. I have order on it, and I'm also grinding for it as well. So yeah, that's cool. All right, so let's talk about accessories. Oh, that's not accessories. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'm gonna just speed run this real quickly. Right now, I think if you are a PvPer, accuracy accessories are solid. But things kind of change up every patch whenever they add new things. So entry level items for the rings are Crescent Rings and Eye of the Ruins. Crescents, you can get one from the Jatina through the Guaranteed, and it is very solid. I would recommend most people get the Crescent Ring because that's the free, well, not free, but like guaranteed 60 billion stat. And so I think this is a good opener. When people convert, it's either Eye of the Ruins or Tungrad Ring. And I like to look at this pretty regularly because I like to look at the price trend. And so when I was going back in the day, I looked at this and I was like, okay, so do I want an Eye of the Ruins ring or a Tungrad ring? And back when I was in the market for them, they were only like a 10 billion silver difference, which was like, that's why it was more competitive. The Eye of the Ruins ring gives HP, so survivability is always nice. And so this was, I think, about like 60 to 70 billion. Now, obviously, the price went up because things are more expensive these days. And a pen ring, Tungrad ring, is like almost 140 billion. So you see how a 50 billion difference is actually kind of wild. So the hard truth is these days, I would honestly recommend people getting Eye of the Ruins rings because the difference at pen is 1 AP. So 2 different AP. And if it doesn't even put you into a new bracket, like your sheet AP brackets, I think survivability is honestly the way to go. And it's like 50 billion cheaper. So if you have to buy 2 of them, that's like 100 billion silver for 2 AP that I guarantee you can use that for other upgrades unless you are already there. So yeah, it's kind of wild how in a few years, like it can go from like a 5 to 10 billion silver difference to 50 billion. So, and then if you are straight PvPer, I think Ominous Rings are the best rings to get. And assuming you have like Debarekas and everything, which is like high-end conversions. But I believe this is the best trade-off for like AP to accuracy. So that's why a lot of people have them. I would recommend using a little bit of caution with Ominous Rings because people are thinking that whenever the Debareka rings come out, who knows when that's even happening, could be a year from now, that the rings might not be best in slot, so you're just like buying it temporarily. So just keep that in mind. It is currently the best, but who knows where it'll be like a year down from now. But is it a bad option? No, it's not. You'll be fine if you buy it. So here's what we talk about. Debarekas are the best in slot AP. Laytons, Ogres, and Tungrads, they all have the same AP. But Tungrads give Black Spirit Rage, which is realistically more for big PvP bursts. And, like, will you use it often? Probably not. It really depends on the price. So, if you are going for a straight AP, your ultimate endgame goal is to be Debareka. However, most people will be choosing an Ogre, Layton, or Tungrad. Whichever one is the cheapest right now. Let's actually look at that. So, Pen Tungrad, 93 billion. Cool. Pen Ogre, 90. Realistically, if you put it on minimum, it'll sell. So, like, whichever one is available first, just get that one because the difference is minimal. If they're all the same price, get the Tungrad, and then you use that all the way up until Debareka. And Lunar Necklace is the accuracy version, which I actually don't think is that bad. So, it is kind of a big AP trade-off, especially if you want to go Devos, which is a lot. But it does give a lot of accuracy, so I think it's fine. Earrings. Debareka. This is actually something I've had on order for like 3 months now. Distos are going to be most people's best in slot. Well, it is like the most AP, no matter what. But it does come with a trade-off of if you have a lot of AP, you also trade some DP for it. So a lot of people have asked me when is the best time to get it, and I think realistically, whenever you have full pen armors at Capris 9 or Fallen Gods at like duos, you'll be getting 2 of them at like Tet, which is a -8 DP trade-off. And so I wouldn't get them early, simply because let's say you're grinding in a place and then you're like, oh, okay, so what do I can't grind this place anymore, or it gets more dangerous with -8 DP. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Around like 330 DP after the Deboreka, or not Deboreka, Disto -8 is when it's usually safe. And if you're within the 280 AP area, just make sure you have around like 320, 330 DP and before converting, and then you'll be fine. Dawns are accuracy. Vaha's Dawns are the same as Distos, but you get them from the Ataraxian dungeons, whereas the Distos, you just grind for them. Dawn Earrings are accuracy, and then everything else, Narc is a Kama Sylvia spot. I don't think this one is bad at all. I actually have one from the Jatina, and it allows me to grind in new places with the 5 extra DP. It makes me feel safer. Plus, there's a lot of very strong Kama Sylvia spots to grind. So being able to get the 8 extra Kama Sylvia damage is very solid. And so I think this is also a solid option as well. But I think most people just like having higher AP, so Distos or Vahas are generally the way to go. So the belt. There is basically entry-level Bassi belts. Voltara is the same thing as Bassi, but it gives a little bit of survivability HP. Tungrad is the same thing as every other Tungrad, 1 extra AP, but it's usually more expensive. Deboreka is best in slot AP. Turos are accuracy. Tabex is like the gimmick one that you get like a special skill burst. I don't know about that one, to be honest. Like, I actually try to think about where I would use it and like what it would actually be good for, and I can't. So I want to talk about this one. So at every tier, so like Pry all the way to Pen, if you look at the stat, it gives more AP and DP and accuracy for a certain amount of time. Here's the trade-off. You use this thing, and let's say you get 30 AP, 50 DP for a minute. You can't take off the belt while the cooldown is happening, so you're stuck with this for 10 minutes. And so it's like, okay, you get your 1 minute burst window, and now you're stuck with this for another 9 minutes. Is that overall better? I actually don't think so. If this was a shorter cooldown, maybe like 5 minutes or 3 minutes, I think people would actually consider it more. But with a 10-minute cooldown of just let's say you have 17 AP with the belt, right? 17 AP at Pen is less than 20 with even this one, and this is 60 billion, and then this one is the Tayback is like 180, almost 200 billion. So you're paying 160 or what is it, 140 extra billion silver for a 1 minute burst window every 10 minutes. There is very little that you can do with that. So here, if I was at Pearl Abyss, here's how I would change it. Make the cooldown 3 minutes. Like, I think that would open up a lot more opportunities to use it in both PvP and PvE. I just, however, think the 10-minute cooldown is not worth the trade-off for the extra 3 AP, especially if it puts you into a new AP bracket. So yeah, that's what I would do. Hopefully they fix it one day, or at least make an adjustment. I would say most people are probably a Bassi, Voltara, or Debo. Turo is fine. I think it's kind of fell off a little bit, but I also think it's still decent. So Deboreka belt, one thing I'll be going for in the future after my other Deborekas, so soon TM. But yeah, a few things I wanted to talk about now are the artifacts and Lightstones, because as you guys know, getting these are actually important. I don't think there's a real right or wrong answer to what you use. It's more of just like what can you actually buy at this moment. And right now, strikes are very good. Blades are decent, but it's one of those kind of like, you kind of have to be very specific on what you want to use it with. And then Vicious Shadows is a very solid option at high end. Roaring is for the demi-humans, which I think are fine, but it's very situational. And then everything else, you just figure out what you want to do, just like a spreadsheet, and you just Google it, and they'll tell you like all the combinations. So yeah, make sure to actually look at it. There's a new artifact that came out, and everyone's grinding for it. Solid. It's going to be a solid 10 billion for quite a while. I'm trying to grind them out myself because I don't want to spend 10 billion on it, but one day it'll happen, hopefully. And then everything else, it's I guess we'll talk about Alchemy Stones for a little bit. So as you guys know, the new Ulakita area came out, and basically it gives you a little worse version of Vels. It's like I forgot what it was called, but it's basically a 1 AP, and then like, and the effect is -1 to all the other stats. So I think it's a good option for people who don't have a Vel, and just people who want a nice Alchemy Stone but don't want to spend 15 billion, and it's like a budget option. I think this is fine. Do the Ulakita quest line. It's about like 60 quests, and you'll get it. So with that said, if you are a beginner, I would always recommend getting a Destruction Stone. Having one is better than not having one. These are just straight up extra stats. So if you're not using one, just get the Destruction one. You'll be fine up until you can convert into like a Vel's Heart, or you do the Ulakita quest line, then you never have to worry about that problem again. Lightstones. Khan's Heart is not bad, but if you can get the free one from the season, hold on, let me show you. I don't know if you can even get it in the game anymore. So this thing, the Trent's Tier, if you can somehow get this one, I unironically use this one more than the Khan's Heart, simply because I just think this one is like, I like the XP more, and then that gives permanent mastery when you level up after a certain point. So I think it's overall better. But I don't know if you can still get it in game anymore. But I think that's really it for all I wanted to talk about today. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a quick like on the video. It would help the channel grow. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button. I would love to see you come back. I make videos for both beginners, returning players, and I guess people who are just looking to get better at the game in general. So yeah, I try to upload regularly, and hopefully some of these videos help you out. And if you want to watch grinding videos, life skilling, and all the other stuff, just tips to improve, I have all that on the channel. And if you have any questions, happy to answer them. Drop in the comments, or you can join the Discord. And I will see you tomorrow. With that said, peace.